listening to the Tales from the Crypt podcast. If you're gonna make a movie, then you need to get a grip.
Welcome again for the first time, folks. This is Mr. Green, and you are listening to the Tales from the Crypt. You might be watching it, depending on if you're on YouTube. But this is the Tales from the Crypt podcast, brought to you by the Kernel Goes Pop. And I have the flavor that I've been looking for because I'm a spicy fan. I said that the last episode. I'm saying it now because, hey, some of y'all might have seen me walking around town with a beer drinker shirt, but you can't have that without something spicy to pair off with it. And now I got something to do that with the Kernel Goes Pop Cheddar Sriracha, but it's not the only flavor that they got. You might have a sweet tooth. He's actually got caramel. He's got green apple caramel. And if you need something a little bit less spicy, Parmesan, garlic, cheddar, white cheddar, and it's all done by kettle. This is not microwave stuff. This is not the stuff that you got to start. You got to go to this man's website, the Kernel Goes Pop, and you can recognize the kernel right there in the center. He will sell you this in a nice resealable bag so it can stay nice and fresh for as long as you need it. And you might actually be on the set with him one day. You can see him walk up and give it to you yourself. So if you are looking for some good popcorn for your movie night, go with the Kernel Goes Pop. And now on to the podcast. And remember, folks, for you indie promoters and producers, writers, directors, actors out there, if you're going to make yourself a movie, you need to remember to get you a grip. That was a good intro. Now we're talking to the professional today who's going to help you get yourself the information that you need to get into the door. Mr. Vaughn. Some of y'all may be pestering him on the street as the actual Kernel, and not Kernel as in K-E-R. We mean the Kernel as in C-O-L. I'm not going to spell and shoot so that I can lose my spelling bee. So, Mr. Vaughn, how are you, sir?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. How are you?
I am fine. You know, off the air, you was talking that no matter what you've done, you know, and you've got many things under your belt, the thing that you are remembered for is being the Kernel.
Yeah, that's true too. And I'm pretty sure it's because we come on so much. We're in syndication. Actually, Meet the Browns have been in syndication since September of 2010.
Yeah.
Yes, so we've been in syndication 12 years. You know, going on 12 years and everything. So yeah, so aside from all the work that I've done, you know, is always the Kernel, you know. So, but I mean, that's a good thing.
No, that's a problem that a lot of people that's watching right now wish that they could have. You know, I mean, people go. I don't know if you would consider that a double-edged sword. You know, last episode we was talking about it. In fact, speaking of the last episode, I had so much fun doing that the last time. Feels like I just did it 10 minutes ago. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I was talking about that, you know, the last go-round, about how typecast can be both a blessing and a curse, I guess, in some regards.
Right.
So I'm going to jump right off into it with you. We're going to hit the ground running here. Okay. Do you think that in your profession it works against more or to your favor to be recognized as this character that you know, on the plus, you've done it so well that people remember it. But on the other side of it is like, hey, he's the Kernel.
Right. Well, you know, it's wonderful, you know, in the public, you know, when the public say, okay, that's the Kernel, regardless of whatever I've done. But now on the other hand, when you're talking about producers who wants, let's say, to get, you know, they want this person for this particular role, and they said, well, he can't do it because, you know, he's the Kernel, Fortunately, that has not happened to me. Okay. You know, because, I mean, first of all, I come from theater. And actually, Meet the Browns was the very first comedy I'd ever done. I'd never done comedy before. All of my stuff had been dramatic stuff, you know. So even when I was doing Meet the Browns, I was shooting a couple of other TV shows where, you know, one show was I was a judge. You know, Drop Dead Diva, that was one of the shows. And then there was another show I was doing, what was it, was it Stranger Things? I can't remember, but it was totally different from the Kernel. So I'm glad that they look at me and they can see how versatile I can be and not just put me in a box. because so many actors have been in a box and they could not get out of that box because nobody would, no matter how talented they are, when somebody look at them, it's like, no, that's so and so. He can't do this because he's so used to doing that, so we don't want to even look at him or consider him,
It's such a daunting thing to be that guy in the because there's been a lot of talented people, over the years who've kind of got locked into that. Now, I will say one thing I feel like you may have in your advantage is the birth of the technology. I mean, it's a good and bad thing. TV is so widespread, fractured in some cases, but you're not just depending on the broadcast network, the over-the-air broadcast, or the cable network anymore, or even the top-tier digital cable
That's
networks.
Right.
Now you have streaming services which are pushing hard to get a lot of original content in there. So you have a lot of outlets that, some of your predecessors simply did not have. Is that, I don't know how deep in the weeds you are as far as the syndication where, Meet the Browns and what have you is going, but have you heard anything, through the grapevine, so to speak, of, hey, we're going to do a streaming show and we're going to get, all you guys in and blah, 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 or, anything along those lines? Have you been approached or gone out for some of these other pop-up networks, I call it, like All Black, all due respect to All Black, and other things like that? Have you ventured off into talking about or seeing if you have shows to participate in with those?
Well, I'm all over the place because I am an independent contractor, so I don't work for no one particular, producer, executive producer. I got shows that are running, that are streaming right now. I have shows that are on, Hulu.
Okay.
Hulu.
Yeah.
Again, because I'm all over the place, I'm not pigeonholed. I'm not stuck in a box, So, it's and I lost my train of thought. I apologize for that.
No, it's fine. Look, I can do that all the time too. You get to talking about some of the stuff, and then you go off and, I got 1,000 side stories and it'll take me elsewhere.
Yeah.
But to address the audience, because who I like to try to have these interviews for, of course, we want to talk about you, talk about your career and how you got to where you're going and whatnot. But within that, I want to be able to get some of these people, some who are, getting started, they haven't taken that first baby step yet.
Yeah,
they may need to hear from you and your colleagues about some of the ups and the downs that happens. The first thing that comes to mind is that you labeled yourself exactly what you're an independent contractor. You go, you pretty much are in charge of your destiny as far as that is concerned. But when you first got into this, talk about when you decided that this is the route that you were going to take. I'm assuming because you said you did a lot of theater. Did you ever anticipate television with that, or did you just, hey, I'm good on the stage, this is where I want to be?
I never anticipated being an actor.
Really?
That's something that, had anybody in my early 20s asked, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go in life? Where do you want to end up? I could have never told them, because acting was never in front of me. I'm just going to rewind for a minute and tell you exactly how I got into doing this thing.
Okay.
A friend of mine was an educator, and her husband was in politics, and she did a lot of public speaking as well as he. She was attending an actor's workshop to build up her confidence in speaking in front of an audience, which is what so many people in different professions do, because in an actor's workshop, they show you exactly how to use the tools that God gave you, speaking of your body, your voice, your eyes, just everything. And so a lot of people, and especially attorneys, they'll go to these shops and the workshops to see how they're going to perform in the courtroom. because they do perform. Yes, And so I asked, let me tag along with you. I went one night with her. I liked what I saw. I joined. They were in the process of auditioning their students for a play they were getting ready to do. And I auditioned, and I got one of the leading roles in it. And I'd never done anything like this before in my life. And in doing, I was scared to death, first of all. Because like I said, remember, you got to look. I'm from the 60s, the 50s, and I was deep in the 70s, if you know what I mean. So you're talking about remembering stuff. I say, are you kidding me? But anyway, there was a producer and director out in the audience, and they approached me after the show was over, and they asked me to audition for a show they were getting ready to do, and I did. And they cast me in one of the leading roles again. And every time I did something, somebody saw me. And that's how my career started.
Wow.
And I was just mainly doing theater. Matter of fact, I got my first agent doing my very big play down in Little 5 Points, a theater called Seven Stages. But then I was doing so much theater and everything, and I loved doing it. That's really my home. I love doing theater, but at that time, this was in the early 80s, and at that time there were, we had a couple of things coming through here and there, but we didn't really have any movies like they are now coming through here, nor serious things. But then, of course, when the 90s came into play, you had Heat of the Night and I'll Fly Away and another one called Savannah. And I tried my hand in that and realized, I say, well, I can do this too. And I kind of like that, although I like the pay, but I love the interaction with the audience on stage. So in drifting from one to another, and of course when everything went crazy here in Atlanta, and my agents consistently shot me out there for auditions for different movies and television shows, eventually I started getting so much work, whereas I couldn't really do theater anymore, But even though that's my home and I love doing it, but long story short, in reference to which one I like or don't, or which one I prefer, my preference would be theater.
For the instant gratification.
It's a different world. It's a totally different world. Instead of working with a scene partner or scene partners and a camera, you got that instant gratification. You got that. It's just a feel that you're just actually touching somebody with your voice as well as your actions. It's just a different world, and I love it. I love the theater. I wish I could do. I wish a show would come along whereas I could do it, that I could say, yes, this is what I want to do. There are some out there, but I haven't, I haven't had the time. I'll put it like that.
Okay. And, it's funny because, again, referencing a previous episode, there seemed to be a lot of happenstance as a theme that took place there in the interview. And I'm getting kind of a similar vibe here that hey, I'll tag along with you. I might as well audition. Oh, well, you want me to be in your thing? Sure. You want me to be in yours? Sure. It's like, that's not something that is, I guess, by and large, considered a norm. There's a lot of people that I'm sure that will be looking at this like, man, I wish that I got to go online and do these reads and this, that, and the other. I mean, that in and of itself is amazing. Did it paint a false picture to you internally about how easy it could be? Because again, there's your colleagues out there may not have that kind of fortune or skill, for that matter, to do what you did. Did it in any way give you a false sense of how easy it was to get in and move around?
In the beginning, because I was getting so much work and I wasn't really having to bang on doors to get it, and people were coming to me, I was like, man, this is a piece of cake. This is a piece of cake. It's like they're coming to me. I'm not going to them. Like I said, when I got my first agent in theater, at that time, she was the largest agent in the South. And she came to me and said, I want to represent you. I'm like, really? you know. And I thought it was just easy, but it's not easy. It's not an easy road to trod down. You know, acting, a lot of people feel only thing you got to do is memorize lines, but it goes deeper than that. You know, you not only have to memorize lines, you have to be. It's not about acting the characters, becoming the person who you're portraying and everything. But it's not easy. Acting is really hard, but it can be fun. It can be so much fun, and you can dive so deep into it, whereas you can forget who you are, but then at the same time, too, you can be so much closer to, let's say, falling over the edge and saying, oh, I see where that is, so therefore I'm going to back up a little bit. And I'm enjoying the cool breeze here, if you understand what I'm saying. I understand. I enjoy the cool breeze and everything, and so yeah, I can do this. So it's not really something that's easy to do. You know, it is not. And I'm not going to say or tell people, hey, look, if you want to act, it's an easy thing to do, because it's not, because you're going to get more disappointing times. You're going to get more demerits than merits.
And yeah, see, now again, I can't say that any better. It's a harsh truth, but it's a truth nonetheless.
It is, man.
There's students out there who, some of which might have gotten into it for all the wrong reasons. I'm going to be rich and famous. But, I mean, I like the way that you just phrased that. You're going to probably get more demerits than you are merits.
And excuse me for cutting you off, but You're absolutely right, because, I talk to a lot of people, and I remember just the other day I was at a middle school talking to the drama department, and I was asking a lot of the students in there, why do you want to be an actor? For what reason? You know, some had some great answers and some did not. And I was saying, if you're not in it if your heart is saying, this is what I want to do, you know, and your mind is saying, yeah, this is what I want to do, then I say go forward. But if only you're saying, hey, look, I want to do this because I want to be rich. I want to do this because I want to be famous, young men. I want to do this because I want to get all the ladies and da-da-da. You're in it for the wrong reason. You're in it for the wrong reason. You might have a little fame here and there, but at the same time, if your heart is not in it, you know, you're not going to pour out all that God has given you. So you got to be in it. You know, your heart has got to be in it. Your mind has got to be in it. You got to be in it. Because if you're not in it for the right reasons, it's best not be in it. It's with any profession, I would say, you know?
Oh, yeah, you need to appreciate, love, respect the work that you do, regardless of the work that you're doing, you know, whether that be acting or, you know, street sweeping.
Absolutely.
Right. Easy for me to say. But one thing I want to touch back on here is because your story actually puts me in mind of a little bit of what Sherman Hemsley, Mr. Jefferson, for some of y'all out there, and some of y'all don't have a clue who that is, what I'm talking about right now, because that's an old TV show. But Sherman Hemsley was picked out from a play. So, you know, I think Norman Lear caught wind of him in Pearly, saw his performance, That's My Mr. Jefferson, to the point that even when the show needed to have Mr. Jefferson there, they allowed him to finish up. They just put somebody else there as George, who was later unveiled to be that I'm his brother. And, you know, he didn't want to be because he don't like white people. You know, that type of thing. But I say all of that to lean into some of your experiences that you never know, hey, who's out there watching.
You never know. You never know.
That role, I can't remember the specific character that he played, had nothing to do with who A. George Jefferson was, but he saw through that his acting chops and got there. Now we go to the other side of what we were talking about with the typecast, because at some point in time, after playing this character for 11 years on one show and probably 2 or 3 on the other, All in the Family was there, and then he transitioned over to the next thing. That's what the world, it didn't matter what he did past that point. He was George Jefferson.
Everybody knew Miss George Jefferson. That's true, too. That's true. But the biggest part about, again, in playing a character that the public so love, as well as the studio loves and everything, it can be great. On the other hand, it can be not so great. But the thing about it is them being able to see the versatility that you have, whereas people can say, okay, you know, that was George Jefferson right there. Wow. he looked like George Jefferson, but that's somebody else, and so forth and so on. Give you an example, like Denzel, say for instance, he's such a versatile and wonderful actor. He can play. Let's give you an example. Malcolm X. He was Malcolm X. You can look at him and say that was Malcolm X right there. But then you can look at him in another and say, well, that was so forth. So it's like, but he was so good at it. Whereas you forgot, you knew he did good work in all of the production that he's done. But at the same time, too, he convinced you in every production that he was somebody else, where you will remember him as Malcolm X. You will also remember him as so forth and so on. And you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Instead of being placed in a box, whereas they say, well, he can be only Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. That's, when we're looking for somebody to be, let's say, a Muslim or militant or whatever the case may be, we're going to look at him, Instead of saying, no, he can do this, he can do that, he can do that, he can do that, he can do that. And that's the thing right there. It's a wonderful thing, but then on the other hand, when you do a character so great, and I'm going to throw another one out here, Jaleel White.
I just was talking about him.
Jaleel White. When you look at Jaleel White, the first thing you think about is Urkel.
Yes.
You think about Urkel, and I don't recall him being in
much else.
No.
Now I can't say that I've seen him in other things.
Yeah, I've seen him in other things,
but I can't. But yeah, I mean, I can tell you the profession that he played, not necessarily the character.
Sure.
So yeah, he's, as you say, he was somebody who got kind of lodged into being this character, and I know some of that was because it was so huge.
Sure,
it was a grand thing, and I mean, and you made that network millions of dollars.
That's right.
But to get out of being recognized or referred to as, is very difficult. Mm-hmm. The one thing I think that he had that A. Sherman Hemsley did not is, well, two, I guess. A is that he grew out of it to the point that he almost couldn't play it anymore. Mm-hmm. And B, if anyone ever offered him to be that character in some other variation, he clearly hasn't taken it. Mm-hmm. Whereas Sherman, in an interview of his own, he's like, when I got Amen, the show that he did following that, and they described it to him, he's like, in his mind, it's like they want George Jefferson. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They want him, but in a just in a different environment.
That's right. But when I remember when we wrapped on Meet the Browns, and my agent would send me auditions for military guys and everything. I said, well, I like this. I said, but I'm not going to get stuck like that. We're not going to do that, So a lot of them I turned down. As a matter of fact, I can't really remember another character that was, from the military or in the military that I've done since Meet the Browns.
That's specifically for you to avoid being lodged as that guy.
Because it can easily happen when somebody likes your character, and loves your character. Mm-hmm. They were like, I want him to. So in other words, it's the same thing. It's like taking you out of this production, but using you in another production as the same character. It's like, no, we're not going to go that way, So that's why I was like, I remember there's a couple of shows I did where, one of the shows I did where I was killed. I've been killed on a lot of shows. He's like, well, we want to kill somebody. How Tony Vaughn? We'll kill him. But
let's rub him out.
Yeah, we'll rub him out. We'll hire him, but then we'll kill him. But my character was so different from. Well, all of my characters really has been so different from the Kernel and Meet the Browns. Like I said, Meet the Browns was the first comedy I've ever done.
Well, now. Again, and I don't want to harp on too much, but I do know that there's, in my mind, I'm thinking some people out there that really want to hear it, because that what you described is a acting pitfall. Mm-hmm. And you've clearly done a good job avoiding that pitfall. You saw it was there in your path, and you managed to, like, I'm not going, let me go around this. Mm-hmm. But how difficult it is, because it's not just as easy as, I know some people are like, well, I'll never do that. But when people start talking numbers and show lead, it's almost like they won't let you not be the person. If like you said, it's very easy to fall into well, he's not the colonel, but I'll play this general the one time, you know.
Well, I've been doing this right now for 41 years, okay? And I've often said, if God never blesses me with another role, God has been good to me.
Okay.
So if it's something that I believe in, if it's something I'm standing on, if I don't want to do it, I'm just not going to do it. And you know, my agent can get mad at me, but I'm not going to do it because, like I said, this business has been extremely great to me. God has been awesome. He's opened so many doors for me as well as closed so many doors behind me. And so I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not. I mean, right now I pick and choose what I want and what I don't want. So I've turned down so many auditions. It's crazy, because it's like, no.
Really?
You know, I got friends of mine. It's like, man, you know, I haven't had but 2 auditions this month. It's like, brother, I get at least 4 a week. You know, but I choose what I want and what I don't want. You know, give me an example. This last episodic I did, which was called Women of the Movement. Women of the Movement, of course, was about Mamie Till starting a movement from the horrific things that happened to her son, Emmett Till.
Yes.
When I saw that character and everything, I immediately saw that character. I saw that character. I saw the way the man looked, even though I had not seen his picture. I saw the way the man talked, even though he was not really a person that spoke a lot with it verbally. You know, he spoke with his presence. And I knew, I said, that's what I want to do. That's the person I want to play. And God blessed me with that role. But see, that's what I'm saying. I'm selective now, opposed to, I'm still hungry, but I'm selective on what I eat. You feel me? Opposed, you know, compared to back in the day.
Instead of taking everything that they put in front of you, it had his pizza. Here's a hot dog.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm just going to eat it all up. But back in the day, you know, because we didn't have a whole lot coming through here, you know, we were grabbing everything we could grab and everything. But right now, you know, it's a different world. It's a different game. It's a different everything. You know, again, like I think I said earlier, we have studios northeast, south, and west of our great state here.
I never thought I'd see that there.
I don't think nobody did. So for right now, you know, it's you know, if whatever is for you is for you, and nobody can stand in front and say, I'm grabbing this. It's for you. If God said your name is on this, it's for you. So that's a game. That's why I'm so selective right now on the things that I do, the roles that I take, and also the avenues that I try down.
Well, you know, that you have the ability to do that is phenomenal, really. Yeah. Again, I know, you know, there are people who like you just said it. Some of your colleagues, 2 in a month, you know, opposed to you getting like, oh yeah, I just had like 3 of them this week alone, or you know, whatever the case may be, and to be able to say, you know, not that one, no, not that, you know, to be able to do that is great.
Yeah.
Where out there in student land, or you know, the actor's void, or whatever you want to call it, and there's some people that are wishing that they could turn stuff away. I guess the best way I can say is some have almost convinced themselves that I have to take, you know, this, and it gives a lot of leverage against them. Yeah. That's how some people wind up doing roles that they ain't necessarily even like.
Well, see, you know, when you want to work and you know you love what you're doing and everything, and especially those who are trying to get their feet wet or their feet has not been wet in a while, you know, they will grab that. And that's understandable. I'm not talking against that or nothing. I'm just saying this is the way I am, you know. And again, it's not always been this way back in the day because, well, back in the day it was mostly theater anyway, because the bulk of my career has been theater, you know. And so, but you know, when you get to a point in life where you feel that you've supped a lot at the table and you say, well, right now, I'm gonna eat this 3-course meal. Well, this 3-course meal is in front of me. I might not eat all of it. I'll just eat a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and I think I'm gonna pass on the dessert. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, is at that point right now where I say, well, I think I'm gonna pass on the dessert, but I'm gonna eat a whole lot of this right here.
I got you. Now, I watched a documentary once. I think it was on Roger Corman. Mm-hmm. Within that documentary, Jack Nicholson's been interviewed, and he basically said he had his moment, his aha. Mm-hmm. Like he said, I was in the theater watching it when I knew that I had made it. Mm-hmm. Because he, up until that point, he had done a lot of low budget movies. This, that, and he was working. He did a bunch of movies, a lot of which probably will never see the light of day again because they're old Roger Corman movies. But when he did Easy Rider, and that was the thing that's like, he said, I heard the audience gravitate towards me. I was right there. Now I say all of that to say this: did you have you had that moment where he's like, I saw this thing that I did, and I knew that was the thing. That was the one. That was my aha.
When I was doing theater, I've worked in nearly every theater in Atlanta as well as other places, and I was recognized a lot, locally. When Tyler Perry cast me as the Kernel in Meet the Browns, I had buddies that say, man, you're getting ready to be famous. And, it's like, no. It wasn't until I believe, because we did 5 seasons, it wasn't until I believe our 4th season, 3rd or 4th season, when I seen that I could not walk down the street without somebody recognizing me or going anywhere for that matter. And I started thinking, like, this is wow. And then it got to a point where jobs were just coming and coming and coming and coming. And I just thank God. I'm like, God, you answered my prayers. My uncle told me something. He said, when you first started acting, and I don't remember this, he said, when you first started acting, he said, you told me and your mother that one day, your name will be a household name. I was like, really? He said, you said that when you first started acting. I was like, wow. To be known or recognized wherever you go. I was out of the country several times, and the same thing. People running up there. And that's when it occurred to me that God actually answered my prayers. I am known, and this is my aha moment, but trust me, I don't take any of this lightly, because the same person that was back in 1981 who first started acting, it's the same person. The only difference is I'm older, a little bit more knowledge, and also too, I'm more thankful. I recognize I've spiritually grown, I spiritually matured. So the aha moment, yes, but at the same time, as far as being all like this, no. Because I know who orders my steps.
You're not walking out with your chest puffed out, none of that.
There's, I've had, and this is really funny here, I've had people to accuse me of not being who I am.
How so?
Give you an example. I was over Camp Creek Parkway. It's many episodes, but I'll use this one in particular. It was 3 sisters. I was in the store. These 3 sisters was in there, and they kept looking. 2 of them kept looking at me. And so they eventually came up to say, are you the Kernel from Meet the Browns? And I said, yeah. And the other sister said, girl, look, that ain't no Kernel from Meet the Browns. He wish he was. Come on. And I thought that was hilarious. And everything, But the biggest part about it is it was a wonderful thing that they loved me enough. Because when somebody loves you and they want to show their love to you by expressing it through through a hug or verbalizing and everything. That's a wonderful thing, you know. And I reciprocate. My wife tell me, Tony, you're just too nice and everything. I said, but the thing about it is, they don't have to do that. They don't have to love on me like that. If I'm in a position, I'm in a hurry and I cannot, stand and talk with them or take a picture with them or give them an autograph or anything, I'll just give them a hug and say, next time I will. I'm not just going to brush them off like I know a lot of my colleagues do. And I look at it like this here. You can be up here one day, you can wake up in the morning, get out of bed, have a freak accident, and everything changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes. So I have to be who I am, and I have always been this way. I will never be a person that will shun anybody. If they recognize me or don't recognize me, I'm just that type of person. I'm a very approachable person. I love people.
I see that. Yeah. Very easy to talk to, very easy to get along with.
Yeah.
And willing to impart your experiences and knowledge towards,
as much as I can.
And the viewers,
as much as I can.
Well, when you have done it and you continue to do it stage and screen, small and big, that accounts for a lot because you have people who are, I used the term baby steps earlier, that they are, trying to, where do I go? What do I do? How does this work? How do I get there? I want to go to work photography. And I'm sure you've come across enough people to be able to say that there's probably 1,000 rights and, maybe one big wrong. There's multiple paths to get to the where, but you can express yours, then hopefully somebody can get some information and some motivation off of what you've done and perhaps follow your footsteps. Who knows?
Well, the biggest part is about being truthful to who you are and what you want. So many times we can say, I want what I want, but God will give us what we need. I don't push the envelope. Some people do. I don't. It's a personal choice. A lot of people say, well, look, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get where I want to be. Well, I always look at it like this here. We want what we want when we want it, but God will give us what we need when it's time. We can say, I want this today, and you can push and push and push. And why is this not happening? Why am I not getting this? Because it's not time. So you just have to be patient. Patience is the greatest virtue. And people have to recognize that, because if they don't recognize that, the one thing they will do is they can step out of their lane and push their blessings further back. You have to stay in your lane and continue to go forward, but go forward in His name. And I'm preaching a lot, go forward, and everything, because I say that because that's what I believe. I believe. So, those out there who feel that they want what they want, they are talented, they feel that they're not getting the break that they need, just hold on, just keep on pushing, but stay in your lane. Don't get out of your lane. In other words, don't dismiss who you are because of what you want. So many people will sell their soul to get what they want, and in the end, they're still not going to get everything. So why even get out of your lane and do that? It's sacrificing your blessings as well as your God. Why do that? Stay in your lane. He's got you. You just got to hold on. So many times I know when a lot of brothers and sisters who started out with me in theater and everything, and they stopped, acting because things just were not turning for them as they wanted. But at the same time too, they decided, because they stopped, because it wasn't happening, they were accepting things that was against their character. And because it was against their character and everything, they got frustrated and they quit. Stay in your lane. If you believe in yourself, if you believe in your abilities, if you believe in your talent, and you believe in your God, stay in your lane, because it's closer than you think. I always use this right here. I say, you've been driving somewhere and you didn't know where you were going, your navigation system stopped working, and then all of a sudden it starts raining, it gets dark, and you get scared, and then all of a sudden you say, I'm just going back to common ground. Before you hit the highway, you stop at a service station, say for instance, and you ask the attendant, say, look, man, look, I was looking for Smith Street. You know, I was right down there by Jackson Street, and I just can't find Smith Street, so I'm just going to go on. He said, look, if you had gone one more block, you'd have been there, but you turned around. That's my point. You're closer to your blessing than you know. You can't turn around. You just got to keep on going. It's going to be hard. It's going to be rough. The wind's going to be blowing hard. It's going to be thundering. It's going to be lightning. It's going to be raining. But you can't turn around because eventually the sun will shine through.
I think you just gave us the clip that needs to be brought out so somebody can watch that one little thing over and over. That might be that teachable, preachable moment that they can latch on to.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear in a city of many, many hopefuls. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that sounds exactly like, the thing that they have to hear because, again, you're having to muddle through. You're having to get the one audition to the next. You're having to do the low budget thing or what have you, or stuff that may not be as exciting as they envisioned. You're having to go through all of those things, but their particular Smith Street could be around the corner. Around the corner,
but you're like, nah, I'm just going to go this way. In other words, I'm going to compromise. I'm going to compromise and get this when you didn't have to. You were closer to your blessing than you realized. And so that's the thing right there. And that's the advice I give so many because, if you feel that it's in you to do, if you feel God is ordering your steps and everything, just hold on. Just hold on, O ye of little faith.
You see you're in the right way. You might need to be in the pulpit somewhere.
Oh, I've been there.
Oh, okay. This legit or is this the role?
Yeah, role.
Oh, okay.
But the thing about it is, of course, you don't have to be in a pulpit in order to be a minister.
No, you don't.
But yeah, man, it's just a wonderful thing to be able to talk to somebody who is, let's say, in the business or want to be in the business to kind of like say, hey, look, you don't have to sell your soul to get what you want. Just trust. Just trust. If you trust in God like you say you do, He's got you. It might not come when you want it, but hold on. Just hold on.
I think you've delivered a theme that we should address here, because you're right now you're talking to that person who is probably beat down.
Yeah.
First, let's before I go into that person, whoever he she may be, the industry in and of itself can be fantastic, and it can be cruel. It can be given, and it can take stuff away from you. Mm-hmm. How have you managed to get yourself through I don't want to say the entity. Mm-hmm. I was going to say monster, but that's not fair. Mm-hmm. So have you been able to maneuver yourself through the entity? Because you sound very, very grounded in that this is not going to define, beat down, change my given path, et cetera, et cetera. You sound like you've got laser focus on what your goal is. How did you get yourself to that?
The biggest part about it is it's not having thin skin. You can't have thin skin in this business because this business will pick you up, throw you down, kick you, pick you up again, body slam you, spit on you. It'll do the whole 9 yards too. You cannot have thin skin, And being in this business as long as I've been in it, I've learned to recognize that. Give an example. In the early days when I was doing theater, it's like every role that I auditioned for, I got. And it was usually a leading role. I got, And when I all of a sudden didn't get a role that I really wanted, it's like, wait a minute, they made a mistake. Is my phone still working? What's going on here? And then I realized it's like, wait a minute, just because it's something you want, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is something you're supposed to have. Just because you were turned down on this role, that just means that God's got something bigger for you. So you just have to have thick skin in order to survive in this business, because if not, you will end it. Give you an example. And, I really, it's just so sad. This brother, it's been 2 years now. This brother that I know, he used to be a wrestler, and then he became an actor, from a pretty well off family. Very good guy, very good actor and everything. He was up for a main role in this huge feature film. They said, okay, we're putting you on hold. Don't do nothing. Don't go nowhere. So forth and so on. He said, okay. The next day, he was released. And then they called back to the agency. Wait a minute now. We're still trying to make a move. We're still trying to see whether or not we want to use him. Okay, we're putting him on hold again. Then they released him again. And then they put him on hold again. And he just got so tired. And everything. He committed suicide. And about 3 or 4 days after he committed suicide, they called and said they wanted him. This business can be so cruel. You got to understand it, and you got to also believe in yourself as well as believe in your Heavenly Father. Because again, He blessed us. He gave us this talent. He made us in the whole 9 yards. And again, this business can be so cruel, and you cannot have thin skin in order to survive. You got to have thick skin. And that's the way I've survived all these years, with thick skin. I've seen my ups, I've seen my downs, and I know whenever I'm down, I know that God's got something greater for me, and it's on its way. I don't know when it's coming, but it's on its way. So it's about having that faith. It's about believing in yourself and also believing in the talent that you have. Because if people recognize you, want you, they're going to get you. If that role is for you, you're going to get it. If that role is not for you, give an example. If I audition for something that I really want, and I have auditioned for things that I really and truly wanted. I was up for a role in this feature film that they're shooting right now. I'm not going to tell you the name of it. They're shooting right now, but I was up for the lead.
We don't want to cause no problem.
Yeah, yes, I was up for the lead role and everything, and I knew I had it. And then I was released and everything. And I told my wife, I said, you know what? I said, you know why I didn't get that role? She said, why? I said, because it wasn't for me. It was for the person that got it. And see, and you have to think like that in order to survive, because if you don't think that way, you drive yourself crazy. You would drive yourself crazy. You think it's not about you. You got to look at it like this here. If you audition for one role, you're not the only person auditioning for that one role. You got a ton. Give you another example. When I auditioned for the role of the Kernel on Meet the Browns, they did a statewide search for a Kernel. They had the full cast. They had another Kernel that was doing it. They shot 10 episodes. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, so they had to recast the Kernel. So they did a statewide, and I went to this audition. I saw all my buddies there, and people from out of town, excellent actors. But God had my name on it. I'm not saying that I was better than them. It's just that God had my name on that role. Simple as that.
This is the role that was meant for you.
Yeah.
Now you just talked about the industry being tough and hard and having to have a thick skin. Mm-hmm. Just talked about somebody who was playing the Kernel. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, for him or maybe for it, depending on how you look at it, didn't work out in their favor. But that's a industry standard. Mm-hmm. You get cast in something, and you may not necessarily be the one that goes on to the serious version of that, or whatever the case may be. And as you said, that could be a very deflating moment.
Sure.
But your advice in this instance is, I guess some people put it as the don't take it personal thing. Mm-hmm. You don't internalize that. So like, what's wrong with me? Why didn't I get it? Mm-hmm. Did I not look? Did I not act good enough, or whatever the case may be? I'm translating to some degree, but I'm saying that you're kind of putting out there. Don't drag all that into you. Don't internalize that.
Right. If you did not get it, God didn't have your name on that.
And you just move on.
That's it. Next. Next. Oh, okay. I didn't get that. Oh, I hate that. A buddy of mine told me this story. He was saying that, and he's an excellent actor as well. We were on our way to Florida for a callback. A callback, of course, is a second audition. And so we were on our way to Florida. We were driving and everything, you know. And so we were just telling stories about different auditions and, you know, works that we've done and so forth. And he told me this story, and it was so funny. He's like, man, I auditioned for this movie. He said, and the guy was like, I love you. Don't change. Do not shave. Do not cut your hair. I want you to stay. He's like, okay. And so about a week later, he called the agent. He said, our agent, because we had the same agency at the time. He said, have you heard anything? He's like, not yet. He said, okay. He told his wife, baby, we getting ready to pay off these bills. We getting ready to do this and da-da-da. You know, second week. Have you heard anything? No. Third week, you've been released. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, he had started making plans, baby. We're going to pay off this. We're going to pay off that. We're going to because he was going to be one of the leads in a feature film.
Around the world.
We're going to do our thing, you know. But that's the thing right there. Again, you know, you can't not do that. When they put you on hold and everything, they're putting you on hold for a reason. They're putting you on hold because they're looking at you, they're looking at him, they're looking at him, they're looking at him. So they're trying to decide which one.
Making sure that you don't go anywhere before we want you to go.
Right. So if we decide we want you, we want to make sure you're going to be there. You know, so don't go out of town or accept another role. So, but I mean that's the nature of the business. You got to in order to survive in the business, you got to understand the business.
See now there we go. That another little gem, little nugget being dropped down.
Yeah.
You know, again, you know, these are the things that they need to know, need to hear, because how many times have you know, seen actors deflated because they walked into an audition, felt like they killed it, and you know, walked out. Or again, in your situation, a Kernel that exists, but for whatever reason, they look at it again, it's like, you know, that's not exactly what we want anymore.
Yeah. It can definitely. It can definitely crush your ego.
I can imagine. I mean, especially when you do a pilot episode, you cast for that, you assume. I guess the more recent thing that people might be able to identify with out there watching, you know, depending on the age. I'll give age-appropriate examples to you that's out there so you know what I'm talking about. Bel Air, which is now airing on Peacock. Yes, on Peacock. But one of my friends was not aware that was a YouTube short. So, well, it's on YouTube. I'm not going to say it originated there, but the original version of that was uploaded there with an entirely different cast. None of which are on that series right now. And, you know, you have to feel like, man, I helped get this going, and, you know, why not me? I could have played, you know what I mean?
Right.
But for network purposes, it might not have been the creator's choice anymore. They might have said, we need somebody that's looks a little bit closer to him.
That's right.
Than your original cast is. Sorry, but let's get some other people ahead. The other example I was going to give going back, and I'll do the Jeffersons thing again, and this is one that's lost to time, is the original Tom and Helen Willis, which they appeared on All in the Family. Different actors playing the same roles for an event that have basically got erased because, you know, I think Lima got married to Jenny, the daughter of the Willises, in that episode, and that was the first time George had realized, oh my gosh, she's half white.
Right.
But you know, to get back to the point being, when they moved those characters out of there, that essentially no longer took place, and now you have a different set of actors who are now playing this role.
Which is not uncommon. It happens all the time.
Not uncommon. And which rolls back to your point, you can't be thin-skinned because of that, because that could hurt. That can hurt your feelings. It can bruise your ego. You know, it can make you feel like, oh, well, why?
And you can have the if your ego gets in the way, and you say, for instance, go off, then all of a sudden you're blackballed. It can easily happen. I know some brothers who have been blackballed, and
even now with it's you would think they'd have so many outlets, but even now they can really cut you out by the legs.
If they don't want you, they don't have to take you because they got too many choices.
Well, that's true. Now that's another, and you keep hitting on these points that I want to address because half of that goes back to what you said. You can't have thin skin. The other one is what you just said. This second was they got so many choices. There's too many people out here that want what you want to do, and when you're dealing with that, we got to find a way to weed you out.
Right. Why should we have to put up with what you're bringing to the table? We don't have to. I got a whole lot of people out there waiting to take your space. And guess what? I'm going to entertain them. They will do it. They will do it and everything, And it's, and again, it's sad when people feel that, I'm the chosen one. I'm the golden child, so therefore I'm irreplaceable. You cannot replace me. Why? Because I'm so talented. Why? Because I got it going on. You better think again.
Well, life has proven that you're not irreplaceable.
You are not irreplaceable.
Granted, there are portions of time where it's very difficult to remove an individual from a certain thing.
Yeah.
But I guess Roseanne transitioning to the Connors is maybe the most recent example somebody might have as to you're not quite as irreplaceable as you may have thought you were.
Oh, yeah.
Because when they can take the lead out of a series and that series keep on trucking.
That's right. Because you got some talented writers out there and producers. So,
They found a way to keep it moving.
That's right. So yeah.
But what I'd like to ask now is to share, you've gone through numerous castings. You've dealt with the walking into the casting room and seeing these people at the table and somebody standing on the side of you giving you a cold read that you may not be able to necessarily get the energy off of and things like that. Do you have a process when you are going into something like this? Because I hate to keep using the term, but I've said it before, I had to say it now. It could be a very daunting thing when you're an actor and you're walking into this environment and you're, the three people standing across, sitting at the table. Okay, name, you're going to be reading for so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. First off, did you ever have a problem with it? Because, you seem like you've been so easygoing, it might not even have been an issue for you. You might have just walked in, okay, what I'm doing, all right, great.
Well, one of the things that because I did come from theater when I started auditioning for television and film, as well as commercials, what I did was I first of all looked at my character, see what my character was all about, and I got in that zone. So when I walk in a room and I see the panel there and everything, they're there. I just see bodies. That's all I see. So because what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to do in reference to my character. If I go in there and I want to talk like this, or I want to act like this, or I want to look a certain way or have a certain dress on or whatever the case may be, that's it. So they don't even matter to me. So because I think, again, like I said earlier, it's not about acting. It's about being. You don't act the role, you become the character. You become the character. That was a book that when I first got into acting that I was advised to read, and I advised other actors to read as well, especially the newbies, called Respect for Acting by Udo Hagen. And that book right there, it gives you so much about how an actor is supposed to be, what an actor is supposed to act, how an actor is supposed to become, project, and just a number of things, just some serious food that you can eat, And that's the thing right there. So when I walk into a room, and right now it's different right now from back in the day. Right now, you're going before a camera. You're not going into a room with the cast in there. That's gone. That's gone. You're now being put on tape right now. You get somebody to put you on tape. But back in the day when we were doing that in front of, I tell you, one of the most relaxed. I was relaxed anyway, but one that did not try to the word I'm trying to use, I can't think of it, intimidate you, was Denzel. I auditioned for Denzel for the movie. Remember the movie The Great Debaters?
Yes.
And I auditioned for it, and I had a callback, and they said he was going to be at the callbacks because he was directing as well as starring in it. And so I went in there, ready to do my thing and everything. He said, no, let's talk for a minute. And we started talking, and I almost forgot what I was there for because the brother was so relaxed. He was so cool, so calm. And I felt like I was talking to one of my boys. And when I auditioned and everything, I did my thing and everything, and he liked my audition. I didn't get the role, but the brother was so sweet. You know what he did?
What's that?
Had his people to call my agent and tell my agent, I love Tony Vaughn's audition. He didn't have to do that. That don't happen. They don't do that. But he did that. But I don't even think about who is in front of me or what their status is and everything. Once I'm in my zone, I'm in my zone. If I'm supposed to be a minister, if I'm supposed to be a colonel, I go in as that. Uh-huh. And so I don't see that. I know bodies are there, but that's all I know. So you're not going to intimidate me by just there because they put on some poker faces in there. Oh my God!
I can for the times that they did it, I know that they did put on some poker faces.
Oh yeah,
they certainly. I'm sure by hour 2 or 3, no longer engaged as they might have been originally. Mm-hmm. It's just turned into words that I'm listening to until that person walks in that blows them away or something like that. Yep. I only had to do casting once, and I will say on the other side of the coin, there is a respect that you learn from after you sit down and you have to listen to it over and over and over and over and over again. Right. You're just waiting on that one person that walks in that can blow you away.
Yep.
Because if you got 100 people, probably 70 of them are going to sound completely the same. 10 shouldn't even be there.
Oh yeah.
Another 10 are going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
You get down to 5 that are excellent, or another 4 that's above average, and 1 that's phenomenal.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the way it is. I mean, you just never know. But I tell you again, I try as much as I can to be on my A game whenever I'm auditioning, and try to be in that zone, be exactly who it is I'm auditioning to be.
Now, another thing is that you brought up the studios that are here. Something that hadn't been here for a long time.
No, not at all.
How has that changed the game as far as you're concerned towards yourself, towards the actors that's there, or I should say that's here? Mm-hmm. I mean, because there was a point where it almost felt like Atlanta kind of unfairly got the began to carry the weight of, well, we're the town for the indie world and Black Hollywood, and is that a fair assessment? And did those extra studios popping here change the game for you?
Well, because when you have plenty of anything, you of course you have a choice here and there, but of course you can't have a choice if your, let's say, agent is not sending you to these places. It's a wonderful thing to be able to have, studios all over. Like I said, Northeast, West, and South. It's a wonderful thing because right there's an opportunity for if this studio is not hiring me, then there's a possible chance I can go to this one. It's great to have a choice. So it's a wonderful thing that we do have now a choice, and we have so many places where we can go and work. Give an example. This assistant's going to be, she's building a studio out in Lithonia, Georgia. This black lady, and she's doing that, and I think that's going to be ready in a couple of years, I believe. But the biggest part about it is here now is another opportunity. There's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for your grips. Yes, it's an opportunity for everybody. I worked at this studio. I worked at this studio. I worked at this studio. So instead of having just one choice, and because if one studio is hiring, give an example. When I was working on, there was a show called Drop Dead Diva. Did you ever remember that show?
Is that the one where the lady got reincarnated?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Well, I played a judge on that show. And the studio, we were shooting down in Peachtree City. That's where we shot at, in Peachtree City. And so, and at that time, we didn't really have what we have right now. And so here it is. So when you got on that show right there, it's like, yes, this is great because at that time again I was doing Meet the Browns. Yeah. So it's like we get shooting at this then, and we got that right there. It's like, oh man, we're working. And we had a couple of others here and there, but it was just a wonderful thing to know that we had all these things popping up, and now because you got so many studios that have popped up and everything, it's just a wonderful feeling. Because there's now opportunities for so many people, your lighting designer, your stage, your set designer, the whole thing. It's just an opportunity for work for everybody.
Now, that it is a big opportunity, but the road that leads to those individual opportunities can get a little narrow.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. No doubt.
So it's like it provides more opportunity, but then it also becomes debate by which the opportunities start to narrow because everybody's converging toward this one thing.
Right.
When Tyler Perry Studios was built, that became the thing that everybody converged to.
Sure.
Almost to the point that just being an extra, a featured extra is what they called it. Mm-hmm. It became the badge of honor for a lot of actors that came in. That I was a featured extra in the Tyler Perry show, movie, whatever the case may be. But that getting into a studio environment is not an easy thing to do.
Right.
In most cases. Now, you have an agent that can help maneuver and do that, but for that indie actor or something like that, what's their route? What's the path that they do to get that? Is there any advice for them when they're trying to follow your footsteps, so to speak?
I say, if let's say you're doing all of the footwork and everything, and you see that you're not getting where you feel you should be or need to be, I say do whatever you have to do in submitting your resume and headshot. Get on the internet right now, because that's pretty much where they're asking for it. I think, get on the internet, shoot your email, shoot your resume and headshot all over the place, and somebody eventually will bite, because as long as you got representation, you have a chance to get it in there, opposed to you going in there naked. Naked meaning not without representation. So I would definitely say for those out there who are in the business, want to be in the business, but they don't feel that they're getting the work that they want to get, I feel that, just submit it, because eventually somebody is going to bite. Just send your resume and headshot, but make sure that whatever agency you're sending them to, check their background, see what they're all about, because they got so many out there. Just because Atlanta right now is such a hot market, Georgia is such a hot market and everything, you got a lot of shysters out there. And they would say, send me your stuff, and now you got to pay me this, you got to pay me that, da-da-da-da-da. No. When they start talking like that, run. Run.
That's we heard that before with another guest, but so you're co-signing on that. Any place that's saying, hey, I can get you there, just Give me the $250 and I will take care of you.
Give me $1,500 and I guarantee you next week you're going to be working. Yeah, right.
Okay, so those
run fast. Run fast.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I think that's fair. Not just fair, it's great advice.
Yes.
So, the rule of thumb there is that you should not have to be paying to do this.
Yeah, because, when you work, your agent, first of all, is working for you. They're working for you. So, therefore, when you book and you work, they get paid. It's not the other way around. You pay me, and we're going to see if we can get you in next month after next, something like that. But we're going to get you in. We don't know when, but just give us this money. No. Run fast.
You be working side by side with Denzel before you know it, I promise you.
I guarantee you. No.
So there you go. Nobody, please don't be forking out your money at time.
Yeah.
At all.
There's so many legitimate companies out there, so many legitimate agents out there and everything. So please do your homework, because if you don't do your homework, the only thing you're doing is setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up to be used, and they will recognize a green pea. You will stand out. You could be in a bunch of carrots and everything, but that green pea, if you're a green pea and a bunch of carrots, you're gonna stand out, and they're gonna recognize that. And when they recognize that, you better believe they're going to eat you.
Oh, I've not heard that put that way before, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
because when the con is on, they know who the marks are.
They know. They can say a few things, or you can say a few things. They say, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, we got a good one now. We got a good fish.
Just go ahead,
reel him on in and clean him."
Yeah, we can clean you out all right. Hang you up by your feet, just like a fish.
That's right.
That's money drop.
And next thing you know, you be on somebody's wall.
That's sad.
Yeah, but
we need some positives. Talk about your movie experience. You went from stage to small screen to big screen. The Hate U Give, which was very politically, I shouldn't say political because that might get a wrong impression, but I know some people understand what I'm saying. It was a very political in the sense of being appropriate to what the world was going through and continues to go through. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see how I can squeeze that movie in a nutshell before you talk about your experience on it. That was the not based on any one true story, but it was kind of a hybrid of stories that just exist in the world. Mm-hmm. Somebody, murdered young lady who's interacting with, I guess, other people now, mm-hmm. realizing that they don't kind of mm-hmm. view that incident in the way that she does, and mm-hmm. bringing attention to it. Am I condensing that down pretty fairly? Yeah. Well, in working on The Hate U Give, first of all, I did not. That was one production I started not to audition for, because well, for one, I only when they give you the sides. The sides, of course, is a section of the script. When I got the sides and everything, I was like, "Where are the rest of the lines?" That's it. I'm not auditioning for this. And my agent said, "Tony, just go on and do it. I don't know it could be something big." So all right, so I auditioned for it, and then I got a call back. So I went up there for the call back, and I was in the room with the casting director as well as the director. And before I did my callback, he said, "You know what this is all about?" So I got an idea. He said, "Well, tell me what you think it is." And everything I said was exactly what it was. Now, I only had a couple of sides, but I could kind of had a feeling this is what it was about. He said, "Well, you know what? You're dead on it. You're right." And so did my audition, and then next thing next day they called me and told me I booked a role.
Now, it was only a couple of lines that I was supposed to have in one scene, something like that, but it ended up being about 4 scenes. He added some more stuff to it as I was in it. And in looking at that and looking at the movie and what it was about, because of course it really came out at an appropriate time considering all what's going on, what was going on then as well as what's going on right now, and everything. That right there, was a movie that of course everybody should see, and not only see, but they should really see, because a lot of times we can look at things and not look at things. We can be staring at something and somebody say, well, what is that? It's like, what is what? Not even, you're looking in that direction, but you're not really comprehending on what's there. With that movie right there, it was such an educational movie. It was a movie that, again, where people needed to take focus on, really focus in on what's going on, how it's going on, what we need to do to change, as well as how we condition our mind. Because if we don't condition our mind in the right direction, we, the black race, will be extinct. We have got to make sure, no matter what it is we're doing something to escalate each other. Knowledge. If you remember in the movie where the father was talking to the daughter and saying, if you ever stop and put your hands up here on the dashboard and so forth and so on, educating them to things, schooling them on the things that should take place, should they get stopped, should the police stop them and everything, and in doing that, and that was an educational movie, because that's one thing that we should take away. We should educate our kids on a daily basis so they won't be a statistic. Yeah. Because, there are so many of our kids, all kids, but the black race especially, where these young men, is very seldom, a lot of them will grow up to be a grown man because of their attitude and also the things they have not been taught, as well as not having a positive a male role model in their life,
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but true. And that movie touched a lot of that.
It really did. That's why I say it definitely came out in the time it needed to come out. When they told me it was, because it was actually scheduled to come out a whole lot sooner than it did. But when it came out, it was definitely the appropriate time, considering all that was happening, Black Lives Matter and all these kids getting killed and, police jumping down on us. So it was definitely, the timing was right.
Yeah. That seemed to be something that, just for movies in general, not that particular one. Mm-hmm. Timing. Mm-hmm. Having to have the movie or TV show produced and or released at a point in time where the world is ready to take that, accept it, watch it, because there's been many of them that have been released that have been great, that just kind of, wrong time for it.
Yep. So, timing is everything. We have to make sure, no matter what it is, what movie we're making, what is the message in this movie? What is the message? What am I supposed to walk away with? Am I supposed to walk away with something whereas I can actually regurgitate onto others, or am I to just get this and keep it to myself, hoard this? What am I going to do from the message that was projected in this particular production?
What's more important to you than have the art within the movie or just the movie?
It has to be a message. It has to be a message. If I'm working, let's say, if I'm working, and if it's something I don't believe in, that I can actually guide somebody or bless somebody with something I've said or something somebody else said in the production and everything, then I feel that all the work that I'm doing in this production is for naught. So it has to mean something. To give you an example, I'm getting ready to do a movie end of this month that's and I'm not going to talk about that one, but
don't give out no names.
But it's going to be, it's definitely going to be something that's going to be eye-opening. It's going to be something that some people will be able to relate to. Then it will get also something that people will be able to think about where they are, where they need to be, and eventually where they end up. So it's going to be deep.
All right. Now, when that happens, you got to pop back by and at least bring the trailer.
No doubt.
Or something where you can. Well, when the gag order is off, you can be able to say, all right, now here's the movie that I was talking about. This was about blah, 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 blah.
No doubt.
So
No doubt.
You have to do that. Well, they're going to know it now.
They're going to know it now.
And I'm going to have the links down at the bottom to check you out, the Instagram, the website. Speaking of that, since I'm already saying it, you might as well your social media, your website, your popcorn. Please address these things so they know where to find you and your product. And if they want to, do you still take independent bookings, or is everything directly through agency?
No, I take independent bookings.
Okay,
yes.
so if they want to get you for talent, if they want to see what you're doing socially, if they want some of your gourmet popcorn, please drop these things so that they know where they're getting it from. Your social media website, so on.
Good deal. Well, I am on Instagram, and I just look for Tony Vaughn on Instagram. My daughter's the one that actually created the page and everything. So, but as far as the popcorn is concerned, my company is called The Kernel Goes Pop, and that's Kernel. The Kernel Goes Pop gourmet popcorn. That's you go to Kernel Goes Pop, the KernelGoesPop.com. And that way you can pull up my website. You pull up my website and it shows all the various flavors that I have, and also how we can actually get it to you. And also, too, let me, I'm kind of switching gears for just a minute because I forgot to bring this one up. I also am involved in an organization called UMEB. And UMEB stands for United Men Empowering Brotherhood. And our organization, what we do is we target the DAV, Disabled American Veterans. We target the homeless veterans. We target displaced families. And we mentor young men. As a matter of fact, we partner with so many organizations. Matter of fact, about 3 weeks ago, we partnered with the DeKalb County Police Department. They have a special unit where they do the same thing we do. They're out in the communities, and when they're present in the communities, the public know from the colors that they wear that this is a special unit. So they're mentoring young men to try to keep these young men out of jail, because we got so many of our brothers that are filling up these jails. They go in, as maybe have been just a petty crime, but they come out with so much knowledge of what they've learned in jail, and eventually those doors become revolving doors. So what we're trying to do right now, we're trying to make sure with UMEB, we're trying to make sure that these young men don't become career criminals, but become somebody that will be a plus in society, opposed to a negative, or somebody that have expired, when they could have had a chance to actually go to a higher level. So that's UMEB, and that website is umeb.org. And again, that UMEB stands for United Men Empowering Brotherhood. And if you go to that website, you'll be able to see the various things that we've done, the various things that we are doing, and the various things to come. We around Thanksgiving, we fed about 125 families, with turkeys, hens, all the sides, just the whole 9 yards. The clothes we give away, and we're 501c3. We are a nonprofit organization, and we're always looking for good brothers that mirror us, brothers that want to make a change in life. And the brothers that we have in our organization, they're from mid-20s to mid-70s. We have retirees from all branches of the service. We have actors, producers, directors. We have business owners. We have doctors. We have so many. And I started this along with a couple of other brothers. Started this almost 5 years ago. We're still young, but at the same time too, we're gaining a lot of ground because a lot of people are hearing about us, and therefore, we're forming a relationship. We're merging, we're partnering with so many organizations, and it's just a wonderful thing. So I definitely want to throw that out there because we're definitely looking for young men, men period, that want to make a change, that know that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of how things are going, how this world is turning, and because we got so many young men who are not growing up who are growing up in a household where there's no positive male figure there. So therefore, if there's no positive male figure there, they turn to the street and they get the love from the street, or so they feel.
Yeah.
Because if you're somebody giving you something you're not used to, you take it. It's just like if you're hungry and you know you're hungry, somebody put a plate of food in front of you and you know you're famished, you're going to eat. You're going to eat. So that's our thing right there. We want to make sure whomever we're talking to, whomever we're mentoring, we want to make sure they go to straight and narrow, because we got too many brothers who are expiring at an early age. We got too many brothers who are turning into career criminals, and so we just want to make sure. And that's what UMEB is all about. So if you hear my voice, you see me, you can always go to our website, umeb.org, and you'll be able to sign up if you're interested, because it's definitely something that is needed in the community, and we can definitely use some positive brothers who are willing to make a change.
All right. And we have to finish off on this because you widely know, we've already covered the ground that you have a lot on your resume, but you're widely known for being a part of a TV show that has a massive following and whatnot. But we haven't asked what show the Kernel, aka Tony Vaughn, grew up liking. What show when you were, let's go back to this, teen years or whatever, however you want to do it. Name me a TV show that I got to go home and say, I love this show. It inspires me. Love this guy. Give me a show.
Oh God, really?
Yes, really.
You really want to know?
I really want to know.
Andy Griffin.
Andy Griffith.
I used to like Andy and Opie and Barney and Goober, Floyd, Andy.
Floyd the Barber.
Floyd the Barber. I really liked Andy Griffin. I used to love that show. Yeah, I really did.
Have just given you something that you didn't know about this man. He's like Andy Griffin. And don't be getting on Andy, because that's actually a good show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it has all the hallmarks and things that we talked about. People who started off doing one thing on that show.
Oh yeah.
Didn't necessarily last. So you want some homework to go back and find the Danny Thomas Show.
Danny Thomas Show.
Was it the title of the Danny Thomas Show, or was it Make Room for That? I said the Danny Thomas Show. Yeah. That's the first introduction of Andy Taylor, the character, which I think he saw from the play No Room for Sergeants. That got him into this. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Saw him in the play.
Oh yeah.
That transition got him over into this role, and he did just one episode. Again, sound familiar?
Yep.
And that they liked him so much that we can make a show about this.
That's right.
Guy.
You just never know. You never know.
And you see how all that story wrote back around. The show that you like gave you the template of your career.
How about that?
I gotta pull it back around.
Yeah.
There you go. So the good show, it is reflective of what you've done. Some people went in there, and you never know. And as a side note, even showed love to some of the people, because Floyd, I think he had a stroke while he was on that show.
Oh, really?
He did. If you go back and look at those late episodes, he's never standing up.
Yeah.
He's always, hey, Andy, kind of like that.
Yeah. Wow. I never knew that.
They kept him on the show after he had the stroke.
Wow, that's great. I never knew that.
See?
Wow.
Mr. Green knows some things about some old TV. Now, you ask me about something that's coming on right now, I might not be able to help you, but Old school TV, yes, indeed. Mr. Vaughn, now this is what I'm going to ask you before you, now this is something you can't answer, of course, but you just told me that you was in the midst of doing a project. I am going to ask that when that's done, you come back, you have the trailer for said project, perhaps cast, and we can sit down and talk about that thing and, get the word out amongst the people.
Most definitely.
And I think that might be a fun little thing to do to talk about, because I'm interested to see what role you're playing now. You seem to jump from one thing to the next. People know you as the Kernel, but they don't know that you got range. You've been all over the place.
Yeah, I have.
So that's what we want to see. I want to see the range of this new thing, whatever it may be. I'll leave it at that, because I know you're not allowed to talk about it at this point. Is that something that you think that you might be able to make happen?
Yeah, I can make it happen.
And with that, folks.
And also, too, I'm not scared. I was you was talking about range. So many of the characters that I played, television as well as theater, have been much older characters. I did the stage production of Driving Miss Daisy 3 times. With 3 different cast members and everything. So I love playing older characters. So I don't know what that just came.
Is that going to be in the vein of what you're doing in this thing? I'm trying to dance around getting specifics.
Age-wise, it will be.
Okay.
But physical, it will not be.
When is this? When are y'all doing this thing?
We start shooting the end of this month.
Okay, so all right. As we are recording now, end of the month, so I'm gonna keep my ears open and see what that is, because I want to know now. I want to know what that is.
Yes.
And with that, I think that we can move out of this. I want to thank you for your time and coming in and sharing your experiences, because again, I do think it's very important that some of these hopefuls out here in the world know that it ain't easy, but it can be done.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing that I got from you, that the road wasn't necessarily easy at all points, but it can be done.
That's right.
So you got to stay the course, and we may have to have a Tony Vaughn masterclass. I have to write a little curriculum out or something like that. So you've gotten the information from Mr. Vaughn. I'm hoping that all information will not only be heard or seen on the screen, but available in the comments, depending on where and how you're listening to this. You better get that one way or the other. But the point is that you got the information here, and you'll continue to get more information from professionals, because this is the professional of the week for the Tales of the Grip podcast. Mr. Tony Vaughn, a.k.a. the Kernel, not to be confused with the Kernel's popcorn from the Kernel Goes Pop. Say that 3 times fast. This has been Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green on the Tales of the Grip podcast. You can catch it on the Thinking Out Loud network. Go to thinkingoutloud.com. You can follow us on IG, Tales of the Grip podcast. You can see me do random stuff if you look at that. Look at that. There you go. Hey. Women's Pro Wrestling Network. I used to do that sometime too. So then that's just a quick little side plug for me. You can also catch Mr. Wade and his various podcasts and performances. Can we get the disembodied voice?
Find all at WadeWorksStudios.
I'm going to keep getting the disembodied. I just like doing that. And also for Mr. Wade, because I told him I was going to do this. I forgot to do it last time, but I'm going to remember to do it now. Queen Latifah, we are waiting for you. This is Mr. Green saying, so long, folks. Catch us on the next show. And if remember this last line, when you're making yourself a movie, you got to remember to get yourself a grip. So long, folks.
You're listening to the Tales from the Grip podcast. If you're going to make a movie, then you need to get a grip.